Hi, I'm Roy Chua, and I'm here at Amdocs booth talking with Oleg and Ash. Oleg, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, guys, good evening. First day of MWC. I'm Oleg Volpin, Division President for the Europe and Amdocs Network offering. And with me, Ash.
Thanks, Oleg. My name's Ash. I work for Colt Technologies as their Chief Digital and Information Officer.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So, Ash, in the past year, Colt's transformed your inventory landscape. Maybe if you could take us on that journey of transformation of your network operations, and then tell us what impact it has on your customer service. I think that would be very interesting to the audience.
Thanks, Roy. Yeah, so look, we started this actually about 3 years ago. There was a deep discussion in the organization about our inventory, the fact that it's the heartbeat of the organization. It feeds pretty much every aspect of our organization in some capacity or another, right? Can't live without an inventory in the telco world. And that 3 years ago, we looked at the market, and it was often difficult to get the business case, right? To say, well, why would we change this underlying core platform when it's kind of working the way it was before?
Yep.
And the inflection point really was that we were going through a merger and acquisition. Our current platform was never going to scale to what the two combined businesses look like. And that was when the acceleration happened, really. Working with Oleg and the team, looking at the capabilities out in the market space, Amdocs came out top in that selection. But what we were also doing at the same time was not only replacing the existing Amdocs platform, but use it as a transformational vehicle for the rest of the organization and also the acquired business to come into as well. So a couple of firsts for us. One was that we were doing a transformation on the inventory platform. First time pretty much in its history because the previous one had been around for that long. Second thing was that we were going into the cloud. So we're making this cloud native. And we decided that we were putting it into cloud for two reasons, really. One is we weren't sure how big the platform needed to be for the acquired business, and this gave us the scaling effect. But also, as we grow as an organization, we didn't want the infrastructure to be a compounding problem in the future. So therefore, creating a capability that could scale up and scale down with the organization. What I'd say, another first is that we went through a major transformation of quite a complex problem. But we did that in 15 months with a partnership with Amdocs, on time, on budget, and keeping our acquisition on track as well. So again, a couple of firsts for us as an organization as well.
Excellent. So, Oleg, from your perspective, what are your thoughts about the transformation process? Is this something that concerned you beginning? Was it something that you say, well, I know how to do this. We can do this for you straightforwardly. I mean, certainly there was a long conversation because it is not a simple project, or and with the added complexity of an acquisition going on at the same time, right? So, what were your thoughts when sort of Ash and the team first came to you and said, would like to work with you on this?
Well, first of all, actually, I think it was the first time that we met face-to-face, so I was nervous, right? Because don't forget, the decision was just right after the COVID, so we had some conversation, but the first time I remember it, I don't know if we sit face-to-face, they said, we have to meet. I said, what they will tell me? Maybe that we lost the tender, right?
Yep.
So it was very great that we were awarded. But then the other thing is, and very interesting, right? So we'll say, do you guys know how to do it? On one side, the answer is yes. All our bread and butter is to do BSS and OSS transformation.
Yes.
On another side, if you look about the number of the projects in the market which are unsuccessful,
right,
delayed, which is, you can ask, it's the same technology or the same business problem. So what is the difference because make it successful or not? And I think, again, first of all, we were grateful. Second, we were nervous. If we wasn't, it's not so bad. And the third is, I think, when we are looking back in retrospective, because now we can say the project is successful, we're jointly proud of it. So there are one major thing that was made differently, and it's coming from Colt. I want to say some credit, but it is coming from Colt. Because when you think about technology, you say, okay, the technology should work. But technology works with many vendors, right?
Yeah.
We believe ours is better, but it works with many vendors. But when the customer and you realize together that it's a business transformation, then it's successful. So the big thing was from the beginning, and then, we gladly took this opportunity that Colt knew it's a business transformation that requires a major technological challenge, but it is a business transformation. And once you see that the customer realized that, then it's becoming easier for us. Then all conversation becomes becoming easier, and the project becomes successful.
Let's add a bit more to that, actually, because maybe Oleg is underplaying what's actually really happened here. So 3 years ago when this conversation started, it could have very easily become an IT-led program. Right. So the business would have expected to see a change, and actually they wouldn't have necessarily understood what that change was. And I think that's where we kind of stopped a little bit and reflected ourselves inside the organization. I still think one of the pillars of success is good partnership. So robust conversations when they're needed, when there were challenges. But more importantly, when I look at it from a cult perspective, this is absolutely business-led as well. So our COO, Buddy Byer, was there right at the front of this process. When there were the challenges coming, when we knew we had to focus on standardization rather than customization, when we knew that all we would end up doing is creating technical debt if we were not careful, we took those challenges away. And actually, I think some of that was also the pillar of that. So it's a IT-delivered, business-led transformation with a very strong part to kind of get us there as well. So I think some of the other ingredients in the things that don't always get seen, we definitely had that business partnership and work through.
That sounds like a good partnership. Was there a moment in your mind where you say, aha, I know that Amdocs is the right partner for me? Was there a moment in the process where that happened on an occasion?
Yeah, I think, look, it happened a few times. I think one of the ones, I think the most complex one is about the 50,000 templates that we'd created through the legacy platform, because it was very easy to do that. There's no governance and control. It's 3 decades of development. And that's right. And I remember Oleg and I picking up the phone and talking about that. And Oleg was, we said to Amdocs, well, what do you suggest? And they came back and said, well, you need to simplify it, right? You're going to really have to go back to some basics. We can create those 50,000 templates, but there's no scenario that we're going to be able to do that in the time scale. And actually what you're then doing is creating a series of technical debt. And it took a few cycles, I think, with the expertise of Amdocs, with the expertise of our business understanding the benefits of standardization, rather than going through customization.
Correct.
I think that was probably one of them. And there were other ones, right, where we knew. I think the other thing that comes to mind, though, is sometimes you need a compelling deadline to work towards. And I think our compelling deadline was that we needed this platform in place for our acquisition to be successful as well.
Right. You had
some of that helped as well.
That's correct. You had a forcing function, and that was used appropriately in this case, right?
At the right pace.
At the right pace.
Yeah, but
exactly.
Look, I think when you look at this, so we replaced very old monolith Ericsson system there for years. And I think at some point, and we have this conversation with us, that the people were stuck, because this is what people know. Think about this. There are engineers, surely in quote, as in any operator, that for the 25 years, this was their job to create this template. And now somebody come and somehow the RFP happened, and then they scared. If I lose the job, they don't know what to do. And this is their 20 years experience. And I think at that point, when we succeeded to push them that you will gain other things, which is now simple.
Yep.
It wasn't that simple.
Absolutely.
People. And, the relationship between us, the relationship between teams, so to put the right people in front of each other, not just on Zoom and Teams, to explain how it will be and why it's worth it, was crucial as well. And, we have a robust discussion, but actually we were all driving to the same goal.
Yeah. And that, I think it's clear from the conversations and having you sort of mirror each other's talking points that I think a foundation of trust has been built. I think that trust is really important on both sides. As you say, you're potentially putting people's job at risk, even though they're not, right? I think having that relationship between Bolt and Amdocs has been probably very critical. And I'm hearing that in the conversation as you go back and forth and seeing mirror points on both sides. So I think that's really nice.
I think that what I'm trying to say is it's not just myself and Oleg, it's all the way down the organization, the project.
Correct.
If you looked at how they were operating, they truly were one team. And there were challenges, risks, and issues that were...
Of course, there has to.
And then there was tension. But actually that tension was there because of professional disagreements, not because of personal disagreements. And actually what you saw, which was really nice, is actually that professional disagreement turned into a conversation, solutionizing, and then they could move forward really quickly. Yeah, and it really, honestly, it didn't take much for the two of us to be nudging, because those individuals were professional enough to figure out, and there were complex problems they were self-dealing with.
Yeah, and then if there's no tension, if there's no disagreements, then you should worry. There's something really wrong with the project, right? Yeah, so I think that's excellent. So now you're on, I wouldn't say the other side, but you've made a lot of progress, certainly with Amdocs. And now you have sort of data in place. Now we just had a workshop that Oleg organized, Amdocs organized, and we brought a bunch of CSPs together to have a conversation, including Colt. Now, from that data, what do you think the data is going to be able to enable you to do on an operations standpoint? Are things like digital twins and unlocking the value of the data part of the strategy? And, what's Amdocs' role in that?
I said, look, this was the first starting point for us, right, to put the foundation in. Just to put it in perspective, even in just moving the Colt inventory into the Amdocs platform, we cleaned out about 4 million attributes along the way, right? So all various different things that we needed to do. So this all plays back to the AI generation that we're about to live in, right? But without that data plane, you're not going to be able to do the automation efforts that you really wish to do. We're about to move acquired business inventory, and that actually is coming from 5 different inventory platforms back into one. So Colt's going to be very unique, right? We've only got one inventory platform that houses all of our network assets. And I think that's where we now start to see the generative AI piece coming in. And back to your original question, which I didn't answer, Joris, actually, which was how does this improve customer experience?
Right.
Well, actually, what we want to be able to do is provide all of that real-time data back to our customers so they can see their services, they can see the utilization, they can actually have a source of information that they can trust about their network capabilities as well. But more importantly, internally within our own organization, we're going to start using that for capacity management capabilities as well. Where do we invest in our network? What areas of the network inventory do we think might be out of date, out of support, and driving risk from a cyber perspective as well? So again, I think this is just the foundational element that really allows us to drive the value as we go forward, not only for Colt, but more importantly, our customers as well.
I think that's the key thing, right? Which is once you put in place a data platform that's scalable and that's modern, then you can build all the other elements into it. As we talked about in the workshop, the data platform is critical, right? Without the cloudification, without the data modernization, the value of Gen AI can't be unlocked, no matter how much you want to, right? And I think that lays the foundation for what sounds like an ongoing co-creation between Amdocs and Colt as a partner, right? Not necessarily just as a customer. It seems like that's something part of OLEC's go-to-market strategy in terms of working with the different carriers as partners and helping them unlock value. Is that an accurate way of looking at it?
Look, if you think about for a second about Amdocs, if you take Amdocs 10 years back or maybe 15, what are we doing? We're doing mission critical system from the telecom operator,
right?
Which is on one side a good place to be. Why? Because it's important. If our system doesn't work, I'm getting call from Ash or from somebody why your system doesn't working, right? And we have other customers here, like we did a major charging transformation in Sky, replacing Huawei. It was very complex. I got a lot of calls during this process.
Right.
But the thing that we're now trying to do, and this is different from what it was, is how to help our customer to grow their revenue.
Right.
Because by the end of the day, as much as we like OSS and BSS system, it's a mission-critical system to run your business. It's just a foundation to create more business. So when you think about Gen AI, specifically in the Colt example, is a truly 100% B2B focused enterprise. This is crucial, right? You have your data now in place. You could understand your customer. By the way, you can improve your internal processes as well. How to sell better, how to improve your winning rate. And then you could sell more services to your customer. So for us, customers like Colt are paramount for our success as a co-creation. Because if they will generate more revenue, our life will be great. I will be open with you. And if they don't, even if we will produce the best system in the world, it's challenging. So our goal that all of our customers, but currently Colt especially, will grow their revenue with the technology that we jointly produce.
So one of the things that we're just working on right now is how do we keep the network in sync with the inventory? It's an age-old problem in telcos.
Right.
It doesn't take very long before the inventory goes out of shape before what the real network's doing. In fact, we're just about to do a piece of work with Amdocs right now is to actually have a real-time synchronization. So that removes that barrier of any manual entry errors that you might see or components appearing on your network that you don't actually re-synchronize again. But this is just some of the co-creation because, again, this all comes back to automation. You're only going to be able to do the automation if you've got real-time entry of your data and the source of truth is clean as possible as it can be. And again, just some of the small things that we're doing at the moment.
Excellent. So, I mean, it seems like this is a culture of co-creation with the customer, moving from sort of a cost center, right? Your OSS and BSS cost you money to operate, customer service cost you money to operate, and to move that in terms of a modernized platform that not only reduces your costs, improves your scale, reduces errors, right? With more automation, But then I think what you're looking for going forward is co-creation of new revenue opportunities on the platform that you just modernized, that you worked on. And I think that's a better way of looking for success than just saying, I'm going to do cost control for you, right? It's just, I'm going to bring you new opportunities for revenue generation. I'm going to help you to build a platform that enables that. And I think that's probably a very good recipe for success.
Absolutely. And I think, again, the more innovative customers like Colt we would have, the more the industry will be successful. For me, this is the only recipe. Otherwise, we will become utility companies, and we will provide solution for utility company, which is not good place to be.
Excellent. So with that point, I'd like to thank you, Oleg, and thank you, Ash, for taking the time to have the conversation, and hope the audience enjoyed it as well. So thank you.
Amazing.